and the students present in the webinar organized by the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Brainware Group of Institutions. The theme of this webinar one today is Industry 4.0 and Digital Transformation Implementation, Developments and Opportunities. At present, every aspect of local and global education suffers from the crisis of COVID-19. We are very happy to see the overwhelming responses of our students, and we can ensure that this program will be very much beneficial for all of you to overcome new challenges and define a new dimension in dealing with the situations arising out of COVID-19. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome all of you, especially our respected Principal Sir of BGI, Professor Shubhashish Banerjee Sir. I would like to request our respected Principal Sir to say a few words to motivate our students. Sir, please.
Thank you, Orpita. Actually, Department of Computer Science and Engineering of BGI has organized this webinar today, where I welcome the speakers, my colleagues, and my beloved students who are already participating in this webinar. Now, this post-COVID-19 situation is something like that where we cannot go to the colleges, we cannot meet face to face, and we cannot attend the classes in our normal schedule, which we were used to do previously. But the situation has changed. And now this is, you can say, something new normal, that everything will be done, but everything will be done from a distance. So everything can be done on online basis. So basically, this digital transformation, implementation, development, and opportunities, this is the right topic for the present situation, where ourselves and our students, they are very much willing to know how this sort of transformation or how this sort of things will take place in every aspect of life, not only teaching, everywhere else. So we are eagerly waiting from to hear something from our speakers for today, so that we can be enriched just by going through this sort of webinars, which will be very much helpful for all of us in the future days to come. And I wish all success to this sort of webinars. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your kind words. Now I would like to give some information about the speakers of today's webinar. Uh, Mr. Rajdeep Banerjee, Head Business Operation, Cumansis Info Solution LLP. He did MTech in Applied Electronics from Anna University and having around 15 years of corporate experiences. His previous engagement has been with Railtel Corporation of India Limited, Reliance Communication, Ericsson Global Services, Vodafone Global Managed Services, and Tata Communication. And another speaker of this webinar is Mr. Bijoy Pal, System Engineer, Cumansis Info Solution LLP. He did BTech on Computer Science and Engineering from Brainware Group of Institutions. He is currently working on Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning. I am very happy to see you, Bijoy, on this webinar. He is alumni of our institution. Thank you, Bijoy. Now I would like to hand over the session to our guest. But before that, one more request to our participant, that the participant should be muted their microphone, and if you have any questions to ask our speaker, then kindly write down your question in only in chat section. Our speakers can answer all those questions at the end of the session. Please be cooperate throughout the session. Thank you so much, and I would like to request our guests to please continue our session. Thank you.
Okay. Am I, first of all, am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Please
Okay.
continue.
So first of all, big thanks to you for making this introduction for both of us. I was speaking with Bijay in the morning, and I told him that it's a very special feeling where you go back to the college from where you have passed out, and then you share your experience around. And it's a very rare experience So we were very much happy for Vijay because he was able to share. Today he's going to share his experiences on working on some of the technologies. Right. So what we will try to do is that we'll try to be as interactive as we can be. That is the first thing. I want someone of the faculty members to keep a tab on the chat box and let me know and Vijay, because once we are sharing our screen, we won't be able to see the chat box. So just keep a tab on who is whatever is asking around. What we will do is that why the whole concept of this webinar would be to give you an overview of how the various departments work in a particular corporate organization. What is digital transformation all about? You must have heard about this word, digital transformation, Industry 4.0. But what is exactly happening there? That is the first thing. Second thing is that what is the job market for this thing? Where do you place yourself in case of these things in the post COVID scenario? Then we will try to see some examples around AI and we'll take questions around it. Okay. So we'll start with the things, right? Right, Arpita, we can start with the things, right? Hello. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir. You
Yes,
are
sir.
Okay.
audible. You are
Okay, fine,
audible.
fine. So you have already mentioned the credentials of me. Uh, so I won't be going much into this. The only thing that I wanted to share around that, apart from being in the corporate sector for last 15 to 16 years, I have experience around ITIL, ETOM, Six Sigma Black Belt, and I'm also an ISO 9001 lead auditor. So some of these aspects we will cover in this session also exactly what these things are. What we'll try to do is that we'll start with a brief around the National Digital Communication Policy, which came into picture in 2018. The reason for all of you to understand is this thing is because in post-COVID scenario, even in major corporates, the whole structure is getting redefined. There is a lot of pandemic, not only in the society, but also in the ways of working about the corporates. So we need to understand something around what is our national point view around how the government has put forward some certain basic things as a part of national digital communication policy, which will show you the roadmap that the corporates would be taking in next 2 or 3 years. Then we will understand the corporate ecosystem, the various departments, how they work around them. And when you go into a corporate, probably where you fit in the best. We'll try to see that one. We'll try to see what digital transformation is about. We'll try to see the corporate hierarchy structure for digital transformation implementation. So every corporate has a hierarchy structure which they implement in order to bring about digital transformation. Then we will see some job profiles. We'll try to understand what are the job profiles and probably give you an idea around which of the job profiles you may be well suited for. Then we'll try to see what Industry 4.0 is around, what are the basic principles and goals of Industry 4.0, key components of implementation of Industry 4.0. We'll try to see the job markets. So right away, we'll start with the National Digital Communication Policy, which came into the picture in year 2018 under the present government. So every 5 year or 10 year, the telecom policy gets revised within India. So the latest one that is in place was came up in 2018, which is known as National Digital Communication Policy. I won't go into each and nitty and gritty of the policy, but there's something within the policy which gives you a roadmap which the corporates would be taking, the roadmap visions across the policies, and also how the government is going to implement it. So some of the basic thing was that providing universal broadband coverage at 50 Mbps for every citizen. Then providing 1 Gbps connectivity to all the Gram Panchayats in India by 2020 and 10 Gbps by 2022. So this is currently underway. So as we are closely working in this one, so we know that this is heavily underway, and the project is named Digital Bharat. And by that, Government of India is reaching out to all the gram panchayats within India to give them fiber connected internet connections. Then there would be a total investment of somewhere around 100 billion for the digital communication sector by 2020. The most important portion is creating of 40 lakhs job by 2020. This is related with digital transformation. And the focus would be some technologies on which we have to develop pool of skilled manpower. Okay. So the focus of Government of India is to develop a pool of skilled manpower, which would be based upon a precise set of technologies. So one is IoT, one is 5G, one is blockchain, one is data analytics, one is machine to machine learning, one is AI and deep learning. So we have given a more or less market view around that how the market is going to uh, grow for these particular set of technologies. So when I'm talking about digital transformation, I try to emphasize on certain technologies. So digital transformation is done when we utilize certain set of technologies to bring changes into the ways of working. So the concentration or the emphasis from government are the two or three things from this particular slide. One is that the government has targeted or has set up a target of generating more than 40 lakh jobs by 2020 based upon digital transformation. And the focus area of the government is across Internet on Things, the 5G market, blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics, and machine to machine communication. So these are the key takeaways from the point of view. The government has set up the roadmap for everyone to know. Now, post COVID scenario, it's very important to understand that what are the things on which you can work around and what are the departments for which you are applicable around. Uh, I made a point of keeping this particular slide for this session is because whenever you go into a corporate, so I was somewhere I was also like you. So I went even into a corporate. The bigger corporate that I went for the first time was Ericsson Global. And it took me more than 2 years to actually understand what are the departments, various departments, and how they interact with each other to give value or service to the customer. So I wanted you to be going into a corporate knowing how a corporate works around. So that's the precise reason for which I have come up with this particular slide. In this slide, what we are trying to do is that we're trying to figure out what are the various departments within a corporate organization. It can be a bigger corporate organization. It can be a medium corporate organization. It can be small scale corporate organizations also. But ideally, you should understand what are the various departments within an corporate and what exactly they do, right? You will figure out that some of the boxes here have been colored as green and some of the boxes here have been colored in yellow. So the message here is that the yellow boxes are the boxes where ideally a guy who's coming with a BTech background or a MCA background or a technical background is suitably placed to be getting a job. The green boxes are the one where a person coming with a management MBA sort of background would be ideally suited for that particular profile or department. So you can also visualize these boxes. So the boxes which are in blue color, marketing management, sales and bid management, network design management, sales support readiness management, service delivery management, service assurance management, billing revenue, business are the are the sub department within a particular department. So this thing should be understandable for all of you. Is that, for example, organization. You have this kind of things within the college vicinities also, but not in the way it is in the corporates. But yes, the college do have a marketing department also. So within the marketing department, there are sub departments which have been put in yellow or green boxes, underlined under the particular blue box. The reason of having a green and blue analogy is that for the yellow one, the guy with a technical background is more suitable for those kind of profiles, and the green boxes are the one where management guys are put into are best suited for those particular profiles. Now, if I talk about marketing management, ideally the job for marketing department is to develop the marketing strategy for the products and the services. Now, you will find in some organization, these are product organizations, some organization will be service organizations, and some would be a blend of product and services. So let me give an example around a product organization, a service organization, and a product and service organization. So let me come up with manufacturing sectors. So whereby we have manufacturing units or manufacturing companies, these are practically or primarily product-based service organization, product-based organizations. They have a flavor of service, which is called after sales service. But primarily their focus is on developing the products and developing a marketing strategy around it. So let us take Samsung Mobile as an example. So Samsung Mobile has a line of products of mobiles along them. Their primary objective is to develop a particular mobile product and sell it in the market, right? So Samsung can be visualized as a product organization. Within that product organization, there would be something which is called product lifecycle management. So within product lifecycle management, a guy can be placed around, a guy with a technical background, a guy from computer science also can be placed around, a guy from electronics can be placed around. More or less, the emphasis on whether you have a technical background or not. Because here, developing the marketing strategy for a particular product also requires a technical know-how of that particular product, right? So it's the emphasis that the sub departments within marketing has one or two departments also where a technical guy is required. So this is primarily a first experience for you, whereby you can see that in a marketing department also some technical people are taken into. The reason these technical people are taken into is because the ultimate product and its definitions have to be well understood at the technical level before coming up with a marketing strategy, right? So that is the reason why we take technical guys on the marketing portion also. Sales and bid management is more or less related with the management sort of thing. Sales is obviously sales of the product. Achha, another example of this is the example that I gave around product. What is about services? So services ideally are something where we can take Reliance Jio as a service or as an example. So Jio has come up with a service which is called a 4G service. Okay, it is actually not selling mobiles. As a part of the services, it is taking mobile from some of the companies and selling to you. But if those products goes off, then ideally it is the mobile service company to which you go back. So example of a service sector company is Reliance Jio. Okay, you can take Vodafone Idea also as an example. You can take TCS, Wipro, of the IT companies. These are service providing companies. They are providing services to their end customer. Okay, so these are service sector companies. So for each and every service also, there is a service life cycle that needs to be maintained. Okay. Similarly, for sales and bid management is self-explanatory. It is a marketing portion. Very rare you get somebody in the sales and bid management. I have been a part of this sales and bid management team also, but primarily where some very less amount of technical, where you're interacting with the customer and maybe the customer comes up with some technical queries which the marketing, with the sales team are not able to reply back. In those scenarios, somebody is called onto the call or somebody is called to, somebody is asked to give his services around getting that particular contract with the company, right? So in those scenarios, the the percentage utilization of a technical guy is very less, case to case basis. Now there is something which calls the network design management. If you see, all the boxes here are yellow. So primarily all the technical guys are getting placed here, right? What is network design? Now let me take it. It's not telecom specific. I will take you a software example and tell you. So in software also, uh, we have to develop these networks on a particular software which is based on a server. So ideally we take people around who can work on these particular softwares and develop the network or even develop the configuration of the servers. So let me take an example around. Let me say that the server of Cumansis Info Solution is Cumansis Info Solution website is based out of a server which is placed in Canada. Now that particular server is maintained by Wipro. For example, just taking an example. And Wipro is delivering the services from a location in Hyderabad. So a guy who's sitting in Hyderabad is logically logging into that particular server which is in Canada and then doing something around the capacity of the server. They can increase the capacity of the server, they can decrease the capacity of the server, they can add a server, they can configure a new server, they can do some services on the server, right? So here we are requiring guys who are purely technical based. So something which is related with network design management is something where purely technical guys are taken around. And when I say about technical, I talk about BTech, I also talk about MTech, I talk about MCA. Sales support readiness management. Now from here, I will try to take an example of a broadband service being given directly to your home and try to explain to you these particular services around. So now for example, you had applied for an landline broadband connection with BSNL. Although BSNL may not be a good example for you, but for me, BSNL is a very good example. One of the basic pioneers in terms of network availability and network reachability. BSNL is one of the foremost companies within India with the largest expansion across optical fiber. The amount of optical fiber with BSNL is at par with any of the things within the world. Okay, I'll take an example of BSNL. I'm trying to have a landline and a broadband service given to my house, right? I go to BSNL office, put something on the application form, apply online also, and give a particular amount of money that is required to deliver the services. Now a guy calls me and asks me, sir, I have received your form and these are the details in the form. This is your address, right? Are you this, right? Is this your contact number, right? Yes. So, sir, when can I send you the engineer to deliver this particular service to your house? I tell him a time and a date. He fixes an appointment and tells to the engineer to come to your location. Now, what this particular guy has done is actually, which is called as sales support or readiness management, right? Readiness management. He is helping in the activities which is prior to the delivery of the services. In case of software delivery, anybody who is known as a business analyst, anybody who is known as a requirement management gatherer, these are the activities. Anybody who plans the whole software delivery life cycle, who plans the whole sprint around, who plans the whole agile activities around, is a guy who is known as a readiness management guy. So the profiles around readiness management, one example of this is business analyst. Okay, now you have fixed the engineer. He comes to your he comes to your house, deliver the services, and gives you practical example. Sir, look at the login to your laptop and call from your landline. You should be getting a call and you should be able to log in into the net. Please check and tell me you're able to do it. So that is what we call service delivery management. An engineer is coming, is pulling off all the wires back to your home, putting the wires along, and then giving the services, right? So that is service delivery management. Here also, in case of the technical profile guys are more preferred here. You won't find a MBA guy in this particular domains around. Now, service assurance management. Okay. So example is that he has given the landline to you, he has given the internet to, he goes back to his office. Now you are using it on daily basis. Someday your internet goes off or your phone is not working. What you do? You call back to BSNL and telling that my phone is not working and my internet is not working. They again send a guy to repair it back. So that portion is known as post service delivery service assurance management. The example of these kind of things in IT organizations are incident managers, problem managers, event managers, and service fulfillment management. So these are the examples where purely technical guys are taken. There is no management guys are taken around. Then something which is called billing and revenue assurance. Billing and revenue assurance is self-explanatory. You have the bills around them. You're having issues with the bills. You resolve those issues by calling the customer care. Another example of service assurance management is probably when you call a customer care to change the plan of a mobile. You have a mobile, you have a particular plan. You're not liking the particular plan. You want to change the plan. You call to the customer care. They help you in changing the plan. This whole thing comes under post service delivery service assurance management, and it is something which is known as service request fulfillment. Okay. Then the next is billing and revenue assurance. So ideally, starting from marketing to billing revenue assurance are the department in which any freshers is eligible to apply. And you as a person, when you're going into interviews with the corporates, you are eligible to ask them, sir, in which department you are taking me. So you should be understanding very well in which department they are going to take you. So first of all, you should understand how a corporate works around. Secondly, you should understand where they are going to put it. Because at the end of the day, it may so happen that you have got a very good corporate around. Take the big corporates around. Okay. You're very happy you have a very good job in the bigger corporates. But do you exactly know where they are going to use their abilities around? What you're going to be your experience after 2 years from them? Right? You have that right to have that knowledge with you when you're talking with the corporates during your interviews. Ideally, if you see, if any one of you has gone through any of the interviews with the corporates, they give you a portion where they ask you, okay, do you have any question for us? When they ask you this question, try to ask them these kind of questions. What the company is thinking about in next 5 years? What is the precise department for which you are going to take me? So that you also are aware of that, okay, probably I'll start my I will start my career with this one, or I will start my career with this one. I know in some back of the mind of some of you, it may be that beggars are not choosers, but that is actually not the case. That is actually not the case. Never put your foot onto something where you don't know what's the future around. You have every rights to ask questions around interviews that, okay, sir, fine, because they gave you this opportunity. Every corporate will be giving you asking, okay, Rajdeep, do you have any questions for us? Utilize that portion to ask about the company. Try to know about a company before sitting for a corporate interview. Try to go through the latest events, latest initiatives. Now, somebody may be asking what this business excellence management is all about. So the one I have completely kept in a different color, because ideally the persons who are coming into business excellence management should have a lot of experience across the other department before coming to business excellence. So I have been in business excellence department for more than 5 to 6 years. So prior to that, I had to work across this department to gain the knowledge before coming into this one. So this is actually not for you. Starting from marketing management to business associates is ideally for you, right? Okay. Now, see, I'll stop here in case anybody is having some question, you can put it here. But ideally, because there are a lot of things to cover, Arpita, I forgot, the faculty members who are having a look at the chat box, are there any questions on the chat box right now? Hello? Hello? Hello?
No, sir. Till now, no question is appeared into the chat box.
Okay, fine. So I'm moving to the next portion. Okay, I expect everyone to be there. Don't just mute it off and go off. Okay, because this is
Okay.
for your these information. Ideally, you don't get whenever you talk with anyone. So these are some corporate insights that we are giving to you.
Okay, sir.
Try to
Okay,
understand
sir.
these things. Okay. Now, something around digital transformation. So what digital transformation is exactly all about? And I can say why you are focusing on digital transformation is because in post-COVID scenario, digital transformation has become the cornerstone of thinking across all the corporates. Whoever corporate was sitting across the bench at the sideline and thinking, okay, we'll do it in some point of time, have rushed back to their drawing board because their operations have gone a drastic damage because of post-COVID scenario. Post-COVID scenario, digital transformation is the only way for the corporates to live up to the expectation for their customers, and also in order to live up to the competition that they're having. So from competition point of view also, and from giving that same amount of experience back to the customer, these corporates have again gone back to their drawing boards for those who hadn't taken seriously digital transformation. But in a post-COVID scenario, digital transformation has become the major thought process for each and every organization. Okay. Now, digital transformation is a process of using the digital technologies to create new and modify the existing business. Try to understand this thing very, very clearly. There are 2-3 words. Try to understand whenever digital transformation comes to your mind, 2-3 words should come to your mind. First is create or modify. Create and modify what? The existing business processes, the culture, and the customer experience. So you're trying to work on 3 aspects: the business processes, the culture of the organization, as well as the customer experiences. You're trying to create something or modify the existing one in order to meet the business and market requirement. The realignment of a business to a digital age is digital transformation. The focus of digital transformation implementation in post-COVID-19 scenario is to develop digital foot soldiers at every stage of the corporate hierarchy. The emphasis is on artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet on Things, blockchain, Industry 4.0, variation, science, agile methodology, information, and data security. These are the main focus areas around. Now, as you being from computer science department, I would like to know from all of you, how many of you are aware of the agile methodology? How many of you have heard this word agile and where it is precisely being used? Anyone who has the knowledge around software delivery life cycle, this question is precisely for them. Have you ever heard about this word agile?
Yes, sir, I have heard about the word agile, and this is basically a software lifecycle where creation or making of a project into parts, and those parts are used for breaking to several stages and involving those constant collaboration with other developers, stakeholders of the project for improvement in every iteration of the stage.
So first of all, your answer is perfect. Okay, that is first thing. Who's this one? Oh, may I know your name, please?
Sir, my name is Sonish Nath.
Pardon, come again.
My name is Sonish Nath.
Okay.
Sonish.
So, okay. So as he mentioned it correctly. It's the methodology of this, how a software development goes through and how a software development is developed and then delivered to the customer. Agile methodology is the way of working for the development of a particular software and the delivery of that particular software to the end customer. They divide the whole project into small portions which are known as sprint. Okay. These small portions are the equivalent of a small, bigger project getting divided into smaller projects, and each smaller project has a timeline by which they have to deliver on that one. That is a very simple thing about agile. So develop and dividing the whole bigger project of a software delivery lifecycle into smaller parts, and then fixing small timelines for those smaller parts to be delivered is known as agile methodology. And these smaller parts or the smaller projects are known as sprint. Okay, fine, very good. So you understood that the focus area is around artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, blockchain, Industry 4.0, SIAM, and agile methodology, and other. I have given a flow chart of how digital transformation happens. Primarily keep it, but uh, I will give a brief around it at the end of this session, because probably it will take major things out of the things. We have a lot of things to cover. I'll keep in mind to go through this whole methodology once we have covered the other portion. The reason why is that because many of these things will actually go over your head because you don't have that prior experience around. But I wanted to give you just a feeling around how digital transformation happens, how it happens. So probably I'll keep it for the end. I'll move to the next portion. uh, I'll keep it for the end because we have many things to follow. Now, when we are doing digital transformation in a corporate, so how it is being doing, what is the corporate hierarchy structure for digital transformation implementation? So within corporate, we have three stages of hierarchy. Starting with the lower one, which is the entry level, known as digital transformation champion profile. A guy who is having below 3 years of experience, starting from 0 to 3 years of experience and working on digital transformation, is a guy who comes within the profile of a champion profile. So for somebody who is having higher than 3 years of experience up to 8 years of experience, his profile mapping is with the digital transformation specialist profile. And somebody who is having more than 8 years of experience, he is with the digital transformation officer profile. So that is a hierarchy around. So if I want to align this thing with the department that you have seen, so let me tell you that, for example, we were seeing the marketing department. The person who is heading the marketing department will be somebody who is having a digital transformation officer profile. So under him, there are many sub departments. The head of each of these sub departments would be having a specialist profile. And each of these sub department will have employees like you. Those will be having digital transformation champion profile. So there are many digital transformation officers. Under them, there are many digital transformation specialists. Under the specialists, there are many digital transformation champions. So this is a whole hierarchy across the corporates who implement digital transformation. Okay. Now, the one that you see on your screen, what we have tried to do here is that we have tried to develop a roadmap for somebody who is at the entry level taking a particular job. And what we have done, we have taken technologies like artificial intelligence and BI. So we have made a roadmap for somebody who is coming into the entry level like all of you. And then when you get into the entry level, what is the next step for you? Then what is the next step for you? So what is the hierarchy for you once you get into a particular profile? So what you see at level 6 are the profiles for which you are eligible if you have your domain of specialization as artificial intelligence or big data. Okay. So we have something which is called associate data engineer. We have something which we call associated database administrator, associated DevOps engineer, associated data steward. So anything which are in level 6 are the one for which you are eligible to apply if you have a specialization across artificial intelligence and big data. This one is clear to all of you? I want a yes or no from everyone.
Sir,
Hmm.
sorry to interrupt you, but I have a curiosity about the Agile methodology. Can you please correct me or not?
Which one? Which methodology?
Sir, agile methodology.
Okay, tell me. Yeah.
Sir, agile methodology, as we know, it is a software development principle. It's the core of its belongs to the solid principle, as we know, is one of the software creation or software development principle. Is it core is solid principle, or it is totally different from the solid principle as we know already?
I won't say it is completely aligned with the solid principle. but it is more or less some variant of the waterfall management that is done in project management. So in project management, there is something which is called waterfall. If you have known this thing around, so a variant of that project management waterfall methodology had to be developed for software as well. So if you're saying the solid state, if it is aligned with that one completely, it is completely not, but it is a derivative of the waterfall management, whereby in case of the conventional project management, what used to happen is that there was a start of the project and there is an end of the project. Prior to that one, the customer used to come to you and say, okay, what you have done on the projects. That is used to be the conventional way of doing the projects around. But in case of software delivery, that when they were utilizing this conventional way of delivering of the projects, there were major issues around. Major issues is why? Because there is no constant interaction between the customer who is going to get the end services around a particular software development. And secondly, when you're not taking account of the daily or the monthly basis development, at the end you're coming and saying that, okay, I asked for China, you have given me India, then the problem started to arise. So for software delivery, it was very important that the whole project is divided into shorter projects. And for each and every shorter project, there has to be some acceptance criteria in place. Okay. So for each, the whole project divided into smaller portion. For each portion, there is a timeline for completion and there is an acceptance criteria. Once they clear the timeline, they have to give within the timeline and they have to clear the acceptance criteria before moving on to the next part of the project.
Okay.
So from
that's mean the agile methodology is just delivering the small amount of portion that is divided into some developers team, and those teams are continuously developing the software, those mentioned part, and as much they fast and the less bug free code they can write for the software.
So the company is saying that this is my end product that I want from you. Let the project be of 1 year. Okay. But I don't want that after 1 year I come to you and give me, I ask for this thing, you give me that thing. I'm not happy with that thing. I want that you divide the whole 1 year project into smaller 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, 1 like that. First 1 month, I want this. Second 1 month, I want this, like that. Maybe the team that is working on that project is same, but the deliveries are gradually increasing like this, so that the customer is also happy. हाँ यार कुछ हो रहा है मेरे side में. I'm getting some services like that. Secondly, this gap in communication doesn't. He asked me to deliver something on a food delivery app, and I made a healthcare app. So there is a complete difference around them. So in order to reduce those things, you divide the whole project into smaller projects. Maybe the same team is working, maybe a different team is working. That depends upon what are the services around them. But yes, the basic idea is divide the whole project into smaller part and then give the delivery.
Basically, this is more like the Git branches. There are the specific branches for the team, and they are contributing the codes, and then they merge to the master. This type.
Yes, yes. So you have 10 deliverables of a project. Take it in this way. You have 10 deliverables for a project. You divide these 10 deliverables into 2 deliverables, like that. In first month, you deliver the first 2 deliverables.
Yeah.
In second month, the second 2 deliverables, like that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So for anyone who is at entry level, any boxes that you see at level 6 is your roadmap in case if you have expertise in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and big data. Okay, this thing is clear. The next step is the mid level. So if somebody is getting a job of a let's for example associate DevOps engineer, then the next hierarchy would be a DevOps engineer. The next hierarchy is senior DevOps engineer. After level 8, he becomes into the leadership, which is known as a chief data officer. So that's the hierarchy around it. So what I'm trying to figure out here is that if somebody with a expertise around artificial intelligence and machine learning comes and joins and corporate, what is going to be his roadmap in that particular company for next 4 to 5 years? or maybe I'll say more than up to 8 years. Next 8 years, what he's going to do and what are the level of promotions that he are going to get. This is the thing that is there. Another key takeaway from this thing is that for anyone who is a part of a BTech, he can be a part of architecture. He can be upon administration and governance. He can be part of analysis. The only portion for which you are not applicable to apply is strategy. Ideally, in strategy, a job starts from level 7, right? There is nothing entry level there. Mid level, associate data science consultant, associate product managers. These are the profiles which ideally are there. These are the profiles on which you are not applicable to apply. So this slide is clear to all of you. I want a yes or no from majority so that I can move it. Can anyone from the faculty members just cross check if people have understood this thing? Can anyone give a feedback?
I think, sir, you please continue.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
So the next portion is Industry 4.0, whereby the simplest way of understanding what Industry 4.0 is the fourth industrial revolution. Anybody who has studied history, I believe so. Many of you have studied history. How much, I don't know. But in my school days, history used to be one of my favorite topics. So in history, you have already learned that there is something which is called third industrial revolution, which has happened in front of us. The computers, the IT, the microsystem processors, automation production. These things have already happened, which is Industry 4.0. Today, what we are looking at, which is known as Industry 4.0. Now, what is Industry 4.0 in simple words is the fourth industrial revolution. Fine, that definition is okay. Another way of understanding Industry 4.0, that is it a subset of digital transformation. Okay, it is a subset of digital transformation. Ideally, Industry 4.0 is the way of implementing digital transformation in manufacturing sectors. Okay, digital transformation is doing digital transformation itself in service sectors. But if you want to apply digital transformation to manufacturing sector, then what is that? That is exactly which is known as Industry 4.0. Another way of understanding Industry 4.0 is IIoT, that is Industrial IoT. Okay. So Industry 4.0 is for the manufacturing sector. Basic principles is around interconnections, information transparency, technical assistance, and decentralization of decisions. Interconnectivity, yes. Take an example. I will take an example of a manufacturing plant which is based out of a remote location. So thereby, they have all within the plant. There are a lot of machineries around. These machines need to tend to talk with each other. They talk with each other. They exchange the data among them with the data sensors around, and these data through IoT network goes to the main server of the company's head office or the network operating center in which these data are getting transferred to. So from the network operating center, which is based out of Delhi, maybe they are able to control all the machineries which are based out of probably Kalahandi. Let's take Kalahandi. Our plant is based out of Kalahandi, and the main NOC is based out of Delhi. They want to have all the data flown from that particular plant to the main network operating center in Delhi. Okay. So how they are going to do it? This is what we call it Industry 4.0. This primarily revolves around interconnectivity of the machineries, information transparency, technical assistance, and decentralization of the decision. Not every decision would be having a human interface around them. The machines itself would be able to take a decision around it. Now, if somebody has been a good follower of Hollywood movies, there came a movie which is called Matrix. I don't know how many of you have seen that movie. There is a movie which is called Matrix, whereby we understand that machines are able to take their own decisions, and at some point of time they overpower the human beings. Okay, so that is a futuristic idea that was taken into that movie. But the realistic portion here is Industry 4.0, whereby the machine itself are taking certain set of decisions where the human interface is zero. Okay. The main components of Industry 4.0 are mobile devices, Internet on Things, location decision technologies, advanced human-machine interfaces, big analytics and advanced processes, data visualization, and triggering live trainings. Right? This is a model. Because see, this model is completely going to go overboard of you. Well, let's try to give you for reference. Anyone who is interested in knowing about these models can go to Google, try to understand, and can reach out to us to understand, have a deeper understanding around the architecture for Industry 4.0. But the architecture of Industry 4.0 is known as a RAMI structure, RAMI 4.0, whereby everything starts for the physical things. So let us take a plant example. The machineries, they communicating with each other, that is a physical portion. Now those data are getting digitally converted, are put onto the cloud using an IoT network. From that cloud, that information goes to the NOC. In that NOC, that particular information is processed in order to give up some information for the higher management to take decisions around. So this is actually the hierarchy for Industry 4.0 implementation, which is known as RAMI architecture. There are also Industry 4.0 standards whereby you can, there are many standards which are followed in the deployment of Industry 4.0. For example, how many of you are aware of something which is called ISO 27000? How many of you have heard this word ISO 27000? In case you haven't, I think you should. Maybe you can use some of your internal seminars. Somebody can give a paper on Industry 4 on ISO 27000. But ISO 27000 talks about information security management system, which is a very important thing when you're talking about a software environment development of software, and the companies which are functioning on software development services. For each and every IT company, it's very important for them to understand ISO 27000. So ISO 27000 is one of the basic standards which is followed when there is a deployment of Industry 4.0. Okay, so there are various standards around. I don't want to take much time on this one. This will be part of the slides. In anyone who has any issues around this, you can reach out to us. We can have another sessions, and anyway you can reach out to us to have a more deep learning around this. Okay, now I'll try to give a impression around what would be the job market for this thing. So anyone who is having experience or having specialization in any of the technologies that I mentioned, that is artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, agile, SIAM, information security. So this is the job market visibility across next 1 year. This is the one that we have brought up for this financial year. So minimum the average salary for anyone who is going through who has a specialization on any of the digital transformation technologies is somewhere around 6 to 10 lakhs. That's the average one. You have a below one also, but I would preferably go with the average one. The highest salary that somebody can get as a fresher would be somewhere around 10 lakhs. That's the highest portion, not more than 10 lakhs. For 10 to 15 are for those who are having minimum years of experience, that is 3 to 8 years of experience. So anyone with a 3 to 8 years of experience can expect an salary scale of 10 to 15 lakhs. For somebody who is a fresher, can expect a salary scale starting from 0 to 10 lakhs. But ideally, the average is around 6 to 10 lakhs. Then these are the major companies which currently have the major number of jobs. These are top 10 companies around who have the major number of jobs related with digital transformation, specialization on any of the technologies that we have mentioned above. Right. So I need to ask a faculty member, should Vijay continue with his portions, or do you think we should take the questions right over here? Because Vijay is going to be on the technical portions of AI and IO. So will it be right idea to take the questions right now, or should we wait for Vijay's sessions to get completed?
I think it is better question answer round at the end of the session.
Correct.
So I'm requesting Bijoy to continue the session.
Vijay, probably I'm here. I would be changing the slides. You can tell me whenever you require to change the slides around. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Um, Hello, guys. Let me introduce myself. I am Bijoy Pal, System Engineer, Humansys Info Solutions. Thanks, Brainware, for arranging this kind of interactive webinar. Today, we will take a ride on artificial intelligence journey in the galaxy of digital transformation. Guys, if you have any questions regarding the session, feel free to ask. Kindly write it on the chat box. In the end of the session, we will discuss on it. So guys, let us start our agenda. In this total program, we will cover what is artificial intelligence, history of artificial intelligence ethics, how AI become the pollster in digital transformation, a brief discussion on machine learning and deep learning, what is image processing, and some practical regarding AI. So kindly change the slide. Okay. What is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is based on the principle that human intelligence can be defined in a way that a machine can easily mimic it and execute the task, from the most simple to those that are even more complex. It is basically the replica of human brain or human intelligence. On the basis of the human intelligence, the new replica forms is developed, which is named as artificial intelligence. Sir, kindly next slide, please. We will go through the history of artificial intelligence. Though it is the very emerging technology in this era, but it is started in the 18th century. Mathematical development of the statistic Bayes theorem, which we read in the mathematical engineering, and the first computer description and the algorithm of the artificial intelligence, which is developed by Ada Lovelace. In the 1950s, Turing test paper and computing machinery's intelligence machine place draft, which is developed by John McCarthy. In the 1972, Karen Spark Jones IDF waiting underpins most search engines he developed. Then it is going in the 2016, Google developed DeepMind Alpha Go bits for the development and the improvement of the artificial intelligence, and the process is to be continued 2020. Sir, next slide, please. The new things to the engineering students is artificial intelligence ethics. What is artificial intelligence ethics? The ethics of artificial intelligence is the part of ethics of technology specific and to robots and artificial intelligence entities. Actually, in the all cases, we have some ethics which describe how we develop the process or how we develop the technology. In there, this ethics is considered both how artificial intelligence being maybe used to harm humans and how they may be used in the benefit of the humans. So it is very much important. The artificial intelligence ethics is very much important for the developing the new technology on artificial intelligence. Sir, next slide, please. Then how AI becomes the pollster in the digital transformation. As per the report of International Corporation IDC, they are driven a survey worldwide spending on the technologies and services that enables the digital transformation is likely to reach $1.97 trillion in 2022. Gartner CIO also do the one survey that found in the last 4 years, AI implementation grew by a massive 270%. One Indian IT giant Infosys also do the survey titled Human Application Enterprise found that 98% of the respondents who used AI supported activities powered the digital transformation, which is generated additional revenue for the organization and have raised their bottom line by the least 15%. The report states that the biggest impact comes from the machine learning, and it reduced the timeline of the day-to-day execution and the decision, which is less errors. Okay. So next slide, please. Then we will go for the brief discussion on the machine learning and the deep learning procedure. What is machine learning? Machine learning is the study of computer algorithms that improve automatically through the experience. It is basically the subset of the artificial intelligence. And what is deep learning? Deep learning is the subset of the machine learning in AI. Deep learning is network capable, which is working on the deep learning neural network. And machine learning use algorithms to parse the data, learn from the data, and make informed decision based. And deep learning structure uses the algorithm to develop artificial intelligence neural network that can learn from make intelligent decisions on its own. So next slide, please. What is image processing? Image processing is method to perform some operation on images in order to get an enhanced image or to extract some useful information from it. It is a type of signal processing from which is the input of image and output will be the image or characteristic features associated with the images. Sir, in that portion, kindly we will discuss the questions which will arise from the students. Then we will go for the practical session. Hello.
Yeah, you want me to move to this one?
Sir, kindly go through the questionnaires from the students. After that, we will go for the practical session.
Participants, if you have any questions, then write down the questions in your chat section, or you can ask the questions to the speakers. If you have any questions, then write down the questions in your chat section.
I think
I've already
I think
written, ma'am.
somebody can.
Hello?
Okay, somebody needs to keep a.
Saurabh, yes, what is your question?
Ma'am, there was a question that the PPT that is shown here, should they will share with us the PPT presentation?
Okay, then Rajdeep sir, actually he asked about the PPT. It will be shareable with the participants.
Sure,
Okay.
we would be sharing. Otherwise, what is the use of having having a session?
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
But I didn't expect these kind of question. I want more. If you have gone through this PPTs, I want more question. How much change will take place in the culture of the corporate? Yeah, so I'm not able to read the chat box. Maybe somebody can.
Yes, sir. Actually, AK saw, I think Ayush had the question. How much change will take place in the culture of a corporate? He means that many aspiring software developers like us, we were looking forward to the culture that makes up a company. What will be the pros and cons towards the cultural shift with respect to digital transformation?
Okay, so to answer that question correctly, for any organization to go through a digital transformation also involves that they change their culture around. So it's a very important, first of all, whoever has the digital transformation strategy in place had made sure that there is also something related with the change in the ways of working. So culture of the organization is also changing for whoever is implementing digital transformation. That is the first thing. Okay. Second thing is that how many of the organizations are actually into digital transformation. So as of now, prior to COVID, the ratio was somewhere around 40 to 45% of the top corporates within the world. Right now, it has moved to 75% post the COVID scenario. Okay, so to correctly answer your question, 75% of the top corporates have a digital strategy in place, or are developing the team to implement those digital strategies. Secondly, one of the major factors for those companies to implement digital transformation is to change their mindset and their culture of ways of working. So yes, because digital transformation is something on which the higher management takes a decision around. Yes, once the higher management has decided upon that we need to change, the change automatically comes in. I'll give an example around it. So you must have seen this thing that post COVID, no, none of the guys were going back to the offices. Now it doesn't stop from us making call to a customer care. Obviously, we have made a call to the customer care. Have you ever noticed that how these customer cares are being handled right now? So what they have done is that for the initial portion of the FAQs, they have developed something which is called an AI bot. So what they have taken is that they have taken examples of whatever queries that have come to the organization last 3 years, and based upon that, they have developed a FAQ. Based upon that, they have developed an AI. So what they have done that at least for the first level of the queries, an AI bot would be automatically able to answer your query. Now, once that is done, it would be primarily going to a guy who would be taking the call back from his home. So that is one of the changes that brought in. So yes, from the cultural point of view, digital transformation, important factor for digital transformation implementation to be successful is also change in the thought process, change in the culture of the organization. Does it
I
answer
think,
your query?
so I think got the answer. Yes. So, any other questions, the participants? If you have any queries, then you can ask or write down the questions in your chat section. I think there no questions is there till now. So,
So Vijay, you
continue
can,
your
yeah,
question.
Vijay, you can
Hello,
share.
sir. Hello, sir. Can
Hmm.
you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm Ayush speaking. I had another question.
Hmm. Tell.
The thing is that since this pandemic has started, many have been having the doubts that a lot of sectors the job opportunities will be reduced. But in any industry, whenever such a incident happens, whenever such a pandemic or any such recession period happens, there is like a balance, right? If the opportunities are decreased in one sector, obviously the opportunities are increasing in another sector. So I wanted to know in which sectors are the opportunity is decreasing and in which sectors the opportunities are increasing.
Okay, to answer their query, the conventional rest of the guys, please mute. It a lot of house sound coming to the way. Rest of the guys, I have listened to the question. All of you go to mute. Everyone go to mute, please. Everyone, all of you to a mute section. BJ also, you also. Everybody goes to a mute section. Right now, everyone to the mute one. Thank you. Now, to answer your query, the conventional jobs which were there. Conventional jobs mean a software developer. Okay, conventional job. Mainframe architecture, conventional job. So the demand for conventional jobs are going back, and the demands for jobs which are based upon these technologies, AI, machine learning, artificial intelligence, IoT, these are gaining more and more importance around. So not only from corporates, but not only the bigger corporates, but also the medium corporates also. Everybody are moving to this thing. You take this example itself, no? Previously, the contact centers used to be a one-to-one one where probably someone guy would be there as a software developer. Now they're involving AI bots to reduce the pressure on the contact centers. Now somebody has to be there who is going to develop these AI bots, right? So that creates one profile, which is an AI bot developer who is going to work on contact center software. I'm just try to give you a simple answer. So the reason why we have specifically mentioned digital transformation and the technologies that are mentioned there are the one which are in high demand. I mentioned it earlier also. This is post-COVID scenario. In post-COVID scenario, if I am a corporate guy and I'm looking at you as an engineering guy, if you have specialization on any of the two technologies of the one that I have mentioned to you, you are a good guy to come on board. That's a very simple answer. Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, Vijay, you continue your practical session.
Okay, we will start our practical portion. In the practical portion, we will discuss on the visualization from our database. That will be scatter plot, bar chart, etc. We will take a look on the line construction, 3D line, plane in the 3D plot. We will take a view on machine learning. Do you remember about the maximum and minimum function, which is included in the engineering mathematics? We will cover it in this portion. We will do some work on image processing operation, but not last but not in the end of this agenda, we will cover the object detection. Okay, let us start the practical. Here we will take our database, that is iris.cv. And the database which is Wine database. Here we will plot the scatter plot. Basically, we will know that for the plotting portion, we will use matplotlib in the Python, but many libraries are here for the plotting portion. We will discuss on it. Here I will using the matplotlib. Is it visible to all of you? Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Vijay, it is visible.
Okay. That is the plotting from the iris dataset, which we take the iris dataset in previous. Okay. Then it is implemented on the basis of the spatial length. Okay. And the color will be taken from the category of the iris flower. Then we will use the scatter plot using Seaborn. Seaborn is the similar kind of library like matplotlib. Okay. We will use that, and that result will be similar kind of previous. Then we will go for the pair plot. Seaborn is the very upgraded library in the Python portion, which is used for the plotting section. We use heat map using this Seaborn library. Then bar chart. then develop some lines in the Python using the library matplotlib. It is the sine wave. Then we will plot the cos wave using the matplotlib. Then we will do some changes for the color. We will use the color here using blue or G for green, or using the a code for the color. After that, we run here the line is designed as per our instruction. Here we run the solid and the dashed. Depending on solid and the dash, the line is constructed. After that, we do parametric curve, which is in the D plot. Then here is the plane in the 3D plot. It is implemented through the Python code. Here is the rectangle grid through the Python code. Do you remember the maxima and the minima function, which is included in the engineering mathematics? Hello? Okay. I will implement that
Take it that they
maxima
don't
and the minima.
take it that
Hello?
they don't remember it. Okay.
Okay, sir. I will plot that function, maxima and the minima function in the 3D plot. Let's see how it is. You will see the dot in the upper portion. It is the maxima point, and the dots in the lower portion, which is the minima point. These things are implemented in the 3D plot, and as well as that is implemented in the 2D plot in x y axis. We will find the blue points x axis, x and y axis, and the red point for maxima and the minimum portion. Okay. It is quite zoomer portion of the maxima and the minima function. Here is the maxima function, here is the minima function in the 3D plot. Okay. Then we will do some basic operation on image processing. Basically, we will use OpenCV library, Matplotlib library, NumPy library. Okay. Will it show you? Here I will take an image for the watch, and I will do the basic operation on the watch. Just plotting the watch in the Jupyter notebook. Then we'll do the grayscale. Just a minute. Here the grayscale of the images. Then we will plot a line in the pictures. Then we will define a function for the showing the pictures here. We will take a picture for the Victoria and we will show the function through. We will show the picture through the function. Okay. Then it is the grayscale of this picture. Then we will do the age. We will the picture and we will do the age operation on the picture using Canny operator. Okay. Here the ages of this picture is detected through the image processing. It is the grayscale of this picture. Here, all the portion from the pictures is detected. All the portion of the pictures is detected through Canny operator. It is the one operation of edge detection. Then we'll draw the vertical line from in the picture. What the model is detected from this picture. Here we will work on the for the object detection portion through image processing. Here I am using the TensorFlow backend. Basic here I am using this basic library of image AI detection. It's taking lots of time. Okay. After that, here the two portion of the images is found here. Just show here the original picture of the original picture. What I take for the object detection. It is the picture after the processing. Here, the object is detected. Here, the three objects is detected. One is person. Second one is person. Here, percentage of the detection is given here. One is 94%. One is 62%. Okay, that's from my. After that, you guys fill up the feedback form. It is mandatory for your certification. I am sending the URL.
Sorry to interrupt
for
you.
the hello.
Hello. I had a question. Like, what
Hello.
libraries, what ML libraries are used nowadays in industry?
Actually, is also using OpenCV image AI detection. Okay. Then new things are for the object detection for the image processing is yellow. Why yellow? YOLO library. And also we are.
Are you using? Are you guys using TensorFlow nowadays?
TensorFlow actually uses for the processing portion, not for the. It is for the processing kind of processing in the machine learning processing or deep learning processing. There, it is using TensorFlow. TensorFlow is using for the processing portion, but in the capturing on the and the image portion processing portion uses the YOLO library, image AI detection library, OpenCV library, Matplotlib library, and etc. And you will use the IBM Watson for the image processing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
Vijay, I am Arup Kadia. Will you hear me?
Yes, sir.
That is a very nice presentation. There are so many object identification you shown in your presentation. I just want to know what classifier you have used.
Actually, sir, here a total combine of libraries are used here. What is image AI detection, which is the combining package of all classifiers. Actually, that will reduce your codes or reduce your ability in the total functioning.
Rajdeep sir is there online? No. Okay, Bijay, thank you very
Yeah,
much. It is
I'm
clear.
No, no.
Hello.
yeah, yeah.
Rajesh, sir.
I'm there.
Okay.
Hello.
Sir, there are different classifier are there. Among these classifier, nowadays, I think convolution is most popular. Convolution neural network and neural network. That is multi-layered,
Yes, sir.
uh, multi-layered
Yes, sir.
classifier.
CNN is very much popular.
Uh,
Yes, sir. CNN is very much popular and RNN is very much popular, but this takes a lot of time for the image processing portion.
slow.
That's why we will use this kind of total functioning libraries for detecting the object. When we will detect the object from the video or in the quick measurement, then we will use this kind of library. But of course, that is CNN and RNN is for the image detection portion. Basically, it is the learning library,
Deep learning library.
deep learning classifiers.
Okay, Vijay,
I got an answer. Thank you very much.
Given
I think student cannot fill the feedback form. I think they should need the permissions for filling the feedback form.
1 minute, sir.
It is not activated here.
Link already shared.
1 minute.
Link already.
Okay, just a minute.
Vijay, you
You
need
should go to
to
the response sections.
you need to permission outside this organization.
Okay, you should go to
Okay.
the get to the response sections and select the.
Give permission outside this organization.
Go to the response. Go to the response sections or.
No. This one not.
No. This is not. You should go to the response section from the settings.
Yes, sir, just a minute.
Here.
The restrict user. Restrict user.
Restrict users.
Save.
Okay, you can save this.
Save this. Okay, now this. I think this form is activated.
I think student can fill the feedback from now. Student, you should verify the link is working or not. Okay.
Yes, it works now.
Thank you, sir.
Vijay, you need to send this feedback again.
Okay, sir. I will send all the feedback against this form.
Whether the link is same, you should click to the
So-
same link.
So here one email address and one email ID is showing. What's the difference? Hello?
Nothing is different. Hello.
Both are same, you should fill the same.
Okay.
Don't got the link, sir. Okay.
Participants, if you have any other questions related to this webinar,
Okay,
then
just
you
put
can
the link
ask.
into the chat box again.
Okay, I am sending that.
মেসেজ ওই গুগল মিটের মেসেজটা দেখ আমি পাঠালাম
Okay.
আচ্ছা দিচ্ছি দাও হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে লগইন
Shonish, please mute yourself. Shonish, please mute yourself. Everybody mute.
That is for the our end. Complete my end.
Okay. Thank you, Bijoy, and thank you, Rajdeep sir, for this informative session. Participants, I am requesting again, if you have any questions related to this webinar, then you can ask or you can write down your questions in the chat section. I think no more questions from the participants. So I'd like to request Mr. Somnath Bosak sir, the convener of this webinar, to say some words about this webinar.
Hello, I have a question.
Okay, I can continue. Okay. Okay, Nirmala, you can ask.
Yes. Our graphics cards, do you need to learn about graphics processing for now?
Graphics processing.
Graphics, I mean, in AI, do we need for hardware? We need to. Do you need to learn how graphics works? How to use graphics cards in that field?
For using the libraries or the software Anaconda, you need to install the
I'm
8 GB
not
RAM.
talking about libraries. If we design some new, I mean, when we need to design some new architecture or something, do we require to learn these things now?
Actually, Nirmal, that is another genre, graphics designing. That is not in the artificial intelligence. Okay. In the artificial
Nirmal,
intelligence,
that
basically,
is not the prerequisite for artificial intelligence portion.
Okay.
Okay. Somnath Bosak sir, are you there?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I thanks both of our speaker for a wonderful session, and this is very interactive, and the topic is very new cutting certain topic. Uh, and now I like to thanks to our respected principal sir, deputy registrar sir, and HOD of CSS and HOD of CSE, Benue University. Next, I like to thanks to our whole CSE team for their heartiest support to make this webinar success. Lastly, I thanks all the participants to give interest and make patient throughout this webinar. Now, there is a small token of appreciation for our guest speaker. Now I request Mr. Rajdeep Banerjee sir, please virtually accept this certificate.
It's a certificate of Bijoy Pal sir.
Okay.
No issue, no issue.
No.
No issue.
No,
It can be anybody.
I think.
No issue, sir. We are highly. So
Okay.
first of all, we, like myself, I have gone through the same stage where you are. So it was nice talking with all of you. I hope that the message that we wanted to put forward to you you people have been able to get it back, and it was nice interacting with all of you. Thank you.
This is a certificate of Mr. Rajdeep Banerjee. Please virtually accept this. And now this is the certificate of Mr. Bijoy Pal. Please virtually accept this. I will send the e-certificate both of you later through mail. So thanks again to all. So this is the end of this session. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rajdeep sir. Thank you,
Back to the
Bijoy.
Urpita madam.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the participants, your patience, and I think students will get the e-certificate after some days.
Through the mail. Okay, through mail.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So this is the end of this session.